Good morning and welcome to this morning's reflection. I hope you have had a good weekend, and here we are together again at the beginning of another week. And so come and sit a while as we look at Jesus as he calls others to join him, as he calls you and he calls me to be part of his mission. We can't help being drawn to Jesus. And so today we will have the privilege of contemplating Jesus as the one who calls companions to service with him. If we were inclined in the past to view God's call to us as an obligation, about which we might be ambivalent, we are not in that place now. We are growing in a sense of such attraction to the person of Jesus and his way of responding to his own call from God. We are being drawn to be with him with deep, deep desire. It is said that imitation is the highest form of praise. That saying proves to be quite true in our everyday lives. Having experienced the love of Jesus for ourselves and focusing on the details of his birth and life so far, we are asking, Lord, help me to be with you, to imitate you in surrender and love. We grow in this imitation. Our desire to be with Jesus transforms our lives. There is no desire to rebel from God completely. The love we feel in our hearts casts out a great degree of our own selfish desires. With our eyes fixed on Jesus, it is very unlikely that we will give in to serious sin. Love eventually transforms the heart even more. In time, we take on the desires of the other. Not only does selfish rebellion recede from my life, but also a variety of things I had naturally preferred now become less important. Before growing in such a love for Jesus and a desire to be with him in his mission, I would have said that given a choice, I would prefer to be rich rather than poor, to be honored rather than dishonored, to have a long life rather than a short one. In these options and in hundreds more in my life, what is best for me would have been the focus and criteria of my particular choice. Now that is changing. As the attraction of love grows, I want whatever would help me to be with and like Jesus. And of course, this kind of love lightens our spirits and makes what might have been a difficult space or deep challenge so much easier. We become more loving and compassionate, more generous and self-sacrificing, more courageous and just. We become these things throughout our daily lives. Love that grows always desires deeper and deeper and deeper union. It is said that older couples who have loved each other deeply all their lives can anticipate each other's needs. If one is sick, the other will even desire the illness rather than to see that other suffer. Freed from our previous rebellious desires, even our previous preferred ways of choosing, the desire for complete union begins to grow. In love, we come to want the experience of the other. If the other I love is in poverty or suffers or is rejected, I no longer want to stand apart so as to shield myself from that experience. It becomes natural for me to see the poverty or suffering or rejection as part of our relationship. I simply want to be with the one I love. And the more I see Jesus giving himself to whatever is for the greater glory of God and for the greater service of others, the more my desire is to fall into the hands of a loving God, just as he did. I see the poverty of his surrender, and I want that too. As I see him stripped of recognition and purified in his desires, I want that too. And as I see him surrender his very life to the will of God, I desire to be one with him there as well. In the context of our contemplating Jesus calling his disciples, we can feel our desire to go with him in this mission. We can ask, even beg, for a deeper degree of love to grow in us. Attraction leads to the desire to be with, which ultimately leads to the deep desire to be one with. After being tempted by the evil one, Jesus walked along the shore and called 2 sets of fishermen. He was apparently so attractive that they left their former means of living to live lives that gave them their new meaning. Jesus came as light, and here enlightens his first followers. They made the initial choice to stay in the light. As his earlier followers found out, staying in the light, staying where it was bright, can sometimes be difficult, and they would slip away into the shadows of doubt, resistance, and self-preoccupation. Jesus' response was always an encouraging invitation to return, to reform. By his instruction and deeds of caring for his followers, Jesus gave them information about who he was and who they were. Information then leads to reformation and ultimately to confirmation to the person who reverenced them enough to allow them to wonder. Jesus offered them signs or gestures that made his way of life worth a good try. And so we are invited to see these gestures of Jesus in such a way that we might more closely consider our own reformation and confirmation to his ways. He does not call us from way up ahead or from above, but actually from beside and behind. In a strange, mysterious way, we watch him in front of us, but he calls to us from behind. He so reverences our freedom that he allows us to take this road or that road, and he watches and follows. So here is this Jesus who we watch so as to follow. And then he follows our choices and watches how to more lovingly offer us gestures that prove his fidelity to us. May you be blessed today. Amen.